What's one thing you have to do whether you want to eat a bran muffin or speak English? You have to open your mouth. I'm Leanne, and I want to help you learn to speak English out loud. Today, let's use comprehensible input and useful output to get you talking. Yesterday, I baked some muffins, and it reminded me that a couple of months ago when I was at the cottage, I baked bran muffins and recorded the whole thing for you. So let's watch that video together, and I'll ask you some kitchen-related questions and see if you can answer them. And don't worry, I'll help you along the way. I'll list all the questions in the description so you can read them ahead of time and know what to listen for when you're watching me bake the muffins. Today I'm making bran muffins with walnuts and raisins. I have the recipe here on my phone, and I like to get all the ingredients and utensils out before I get started. I already have the muffin tins, so I'm just going to grab everything else. Okay, I think I have everything I need. I have a couple of mixing bowls for the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients. I have my electric beaters over here. I have muffin tins, and these are little paper cups that line the muffin tins so the muffins don't stick in the tins. My recipe is there on my phone. I have whole wheat flour, bran, flax seeds, baking powder, baking soda, brown sugar, vanilla, 1 egg, olive oil, raisins, walnuts, and some bananas. I had these bananas in the freezer because they were starting to get ripe, so I froze them, and now they're ready to use in a recipe. I also need measuring cups for the dry ingredients, measuring cups for the wet ingredients, and measuring spoons. First, I'm going to measure all these dry ingredients into this larger mixing bowl. So that's the whole wheat flour, bran, flax, baking powder, baking soda, and brown sugar. 1 cup, and not easy when they're in these bags. And 1/4 cup of whole wheat flour. And after I use each ingredient, I like to put it away. That way I have them all out at the first, and as I put them away, I know I've already put them in the recipe, so I don't end up putting something in twice by mistake. Now, 1.5 cups of bran. That's barely a 1/2 cup, but I don't think it'll ruin my recipe. 1/2 cup of ground flax, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And 1/2 cup of brown sugar to sweeten things up a little bit. This is a whisk, and now I'm going to whisk these dry ingredients. So I'm going to mix the dry ingredients by whisking them with this whisk. I'm going to mix the wet ingredients in this smaller bowl, but my bananas are still frozen. I forgot to take them out earlier, so I'm going to put them in the microwave and soften them up a bit and then add the wet ingredients. Now that my bananas are softened, I'm using a fork to mash them. Now I also have a masher right here. This is a masher, but I usually use it for potatoes or bigger things like that. A fork is doing a good enough job at mashing up the bananas. There, the bananas are ready. Next, I'm supposed to add 1 beaten egg, but I kind of cheat on this, and I'm just going to put the egg in and just beat it once it's in there. So it's on top of the bananas, and I'm beating it up a bit. There, and I'm mixing it in with the bananas. Next, I need 1.25 cups of milk. Perfect. So I'll pour the milk in. The last thing is 4 tablespoons of olive oil. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, in fact, that wasn't the last thing. I see one more thing sitting here. It's the vanilla. I forgot to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And also afterwards, I'll add the raisins and the walnuts once I mix the wet and dry ingredients together. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There, this time I am done with my measuring spoons. So I have my wet ingredients here and my dry ingredients. I'm going to mix up my wet ingredients a little more, and then I'm going to add them to the dry ingredients and mix them with my electric beaters. So I pour the wet ingredients into the dry. Just going to dump it all in and put that in the sink. Give it a little mix, but actually I'm just going to get my electric mixer to do this. Now I'm going to mix the wet and dry ingredients together. The last two things I'm going to add in are half a cup of raisins, which I'll mix in, and then I'll put in this half a cup of nuts. Actually, some of these walnuts are quite large, like that big one. So I'm just going to chop those up a bit smaller before I put them in. That's better. Now I'll mix these around a little bit with the electric beaters. Get them mixed in. That should be good. I didn't put the muffin liners in yet, so I'm going to put one of these in each spot in the muffin tin, and then I'll fill them up. My oven is preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to spoon some batter. This is called the batter that I've mixed up. Spoon the batter into each of these muffin tins, and then I have to bake them for 12 to 15 muffins. Bake them for 25 minutes. So I've been using a spoon to fill the muffin tins, but I'm going to use this spatula to get the last of the batter out, and then I can fill the muffin tins up nice and full. I don't know if you can see that. So the spatula gets all the batter to the bottom here. There we go. I have 18 muffins ready to go in the oven when it's preheated. Now I'll wash up all these dishes that I've dirtied and put everything away, and soon I'll have nice fresh muffins. Here we go. Muffins going in. Whew. 25 minutes, I'll check them. I've got all the dishes washed and the counters cleaned up, so now I'm going to check my muffins. The recipe said about 25 minutes, so that's not a very precise amount of time. I'm going to open the oven here and put a toothpick in. Here's a toothpick. So if I put this toothpick in and it comes out dry, the muffins are done. And if it comes out with batter on it, the muffins aren't quite ready yet. Ooh, look at that. The timer still says 5 minutes to go. But that toothpick's coming out pretty clean, so I think these muffins are done. I'm going to turn off the timer and turn off my oven and then take the muffins out. They sure smell good. $18 muffins, just like that. There we go, 18 muffins. Let them cool down, and I probably won't have one till tomorrow morning with my coffee. Let's see if you can answer these kitchen-related questions. Don't worry, I'll help you. Let's start by speaking out loud right now. So say this together with me. Baking bran muffins makes me very merry. And in this case, merry means happy, like Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas. So baking bran muffins makes me very merry. Baking bran muffins, baking bran muffins makes me very merry. How about this one? Say it with me. Baking bran muffins in English isn't scary. Baking bran muffins in English isn't scary. So I hope you're saying that out loud with me to get your mouth starting to work. What is my method or process for baking? In other words, how do I get myself organized? Just do the best you can for an answer, and if you don't know, just wait and I'll help you. Yeah, when I'm baking, I like to get all the ingredients and all the utensils and tools out ahead of time. What about you? When you're baking or cooking, do you just get everything out as you need it, or do you get it all organized first? So you could say, I get everything out first, I get out all the ingredients and get them organized. Or you could say, I just grab things from the cupboard and the fridge as I need them. So what's your answer? What's your process when you're baking or cooking? Good. How many mixing bowls do I use when I'm baking muffins? Right. You could just say 2, but it's better if you say, Leanne, you use 2 mixing bowls. Okay, now here's a question. Why? Why do I use 2 mixing bowls? Answer out loud. Right. One mixing bowl is for the dry ingredients, and the other mixing bowl is for the wet ingredients. Good job. Can you name some of the dry ingredients that I use to make bran muffins? Any ones will do. Any that you remember. And if I don't leave you enough time, you can always pause the video, say your answer out loud, and then start the video again. So let me think of some of the ingredients. I didn't make the muffins just now. I use bran and flax and whole wheat flour and baking soda and baking powder. And what did I use to mix the dry ingredients? Here's a hint. Yes, I use a whisk to mix the dry ingredients. And what did I have to mash in this recipe? I had to mash the bananas. So what could I use to mash bananas? Or what did I use? Do you remember? I used a fork to mash the bananas. But what's another thing that you can use for mashing? Another utensil. Yes, a masher. And generally, I use a masher when I'm mashing potatoes. Well, I mash them in a pot. So this is a masher that's used for mashing. And how did I cheat with the egg? What did I do? I cracked the egg right into the bowl with the bananas and mixed it in, beat it right in the bowl, instead of cracking the egg into a separate bowl and beating it and then adding it to the bananas. For me, it just makes sense because I dirty fewer dishes. In that batch of muffins, I put raisins and walnuts in at the end. What do you like to put in your muffins when you make muffins? Maybe you like raisins, or maybe you like, what did I have? Walnuts. Now I usually just put walnuts in. Maybe you like chocolate chips. Maybe you put chocolate chips in your muffins. Or maybe you can say, Leanne, I've never made muffins. Or maybe even you've never had bran muffins. Anyway, I can put the recipe in the comments, and if you want to try making them, you can. Why did I use these muffin tin liners? Do you know what those are for? I put them in the muffin tins, and it makes it easier to clean. So when the muffins come out, there's not a lot of muffin stuck to my muffin tins. They're much easier to wash. I'm all about making things easy. And what did I spoon into the muffin tins, into those liners? That's called the batter, the muffin batter. And then when you bake it, it turns into muffins. How many muffins did I make? Do you remember? I made 18 muffins. One of my muffin tins had 12 muffins, so that's a dozen, and the other was a half dozen, so 6. 12 plus 6 equals 18. What did I do while the muffins were baking? while the muffins were in the oven, what was I doing? I was washing the dishes. I cleaned up all the dishes, washed them, and got the counters cleaned off so that everything was all clean by the time the muffins were done. And how did I check that the muffins were done? Right, I took a toothpick and I stuck it into the muffin and made sure that it came out clean with no muffin batter on it. So that means the muffin is dry and it's all baked and ready. Okay, and now for the bonus question. So you understood everything that I was saying, but can you talk about it? So just tell me briefly in 1 or 2 sentences what this video was about. What was I doing? You could say, Leanne, this was a video about you making muffins. Or this was a video that you recorded a couple months ago at your cottage when you were making muffins. Or you could say, this was a video about you making muffins, and then you asked me lots of questions to see if I understood what you were talking about and to see if I could actually say it out loud. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you haven't told me before, tell me in the comments where you're from. And I think for my next video, I'm going to do this puzzle, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do a video about doing this puzzle, and we can chat about that. Okay, see you in the next one.